Hi everyone, we're just going to talk a little bit about debugging your tests using AL Test Runner. Sometimes you can see the line of the test that the error is occurring on, but you really want to step through your test code or the production code that your test is calling to try and work out why it's actually failing. And so there's some functionality in AL Test Runner to try and help you do that. Let me just quickly talk you through the scenario I've got here. I've got a local BC17 container, which is called demo, which I'm publishing my test extension into and running the tests against. So I've just got a simple test here. Doesn't really matter what the test actually is, but I'm creating a customer, a sales order, an item, attempting to post it, and then assert something about the sales invoice that's created. It doesn't really matter what. The point is that when I try and run this, uh, it's going to publish that app into the demo container. It's going to attempt to run that test, and the test is going to fail. And we'll see in a second, you'll get the line that is actually failing will be wavy red underlined, so you can see which line led to the error. You'll get the call stack. The test method will be highlighted red, and you can hover over that and get the error message in the call stack. In a lot of cases, that's enough for you to figure out what's going wrong. But it may be that you want to actually debug this code as well and see exactly where the error is occurring. Well, now you can. You'll notice there's a debug test code action next to the run test code action. But I can't just go ahead and debug that. Um, you'll see we're missing some config here. We're going to need a few things in place before we can do that. So first of those is an app called the test runner service. So if you open the command palette, you'll see there's an install test runner service command. What that's going to do is download an app file which is hosted on GitHub. You can see it there, test runner service in the terminal, and publish that into the container. Because I'm working with a local container, that's nice and easy. It may be in some other scenarios you need to go and get that app file. In which case you can have a look on GitHub, and if you go not in the test runner repository but in the test runner service repository, you will find the source code for that test runner, which is very minimal. It's just a test runner code unit, but also this is the .app file that the command is actually going to download. So feel free to have a look at that. If there's any improvements you can make to it, by all means submit a pull request and let's make it better. But that's what's being downloaded and installed inside the container. So we need that first of all. We also need, again, if I go to the command palette and open the AR test runner config file, there's a test runner service URL that needs populating as well. And when you hover over that, you'll see an example of what that URL might look like. And it's a REST endpoint for the test runner code unit. So if I put my container name in there, that ought to be everything I need. Yeah, the company name is correct, which is my company in the sandbox container that I've created, and it's the default tenant as well. There's one more thing that we are going to need. If I attempt to debug this now, it will give me an error saying you need to actually create the debug configuration in launch.json. If you want to try and attach the debugger, obviously you need that in place. So let's open up launch.json and we can add an attach to the next session on your own server. and the container is called demo. The instance is BC. We can leave the client type as a web service client. That's correct, and default tenant is fine. So what's going to happen now when I click on the debug test? AL test runner will look for the first attach configuration type in launch.json. So that needs to match the container that you're actually running the test against for that to work. It's only going to look for the first one. As of now, maybe I'll improve that in some point to try and verify you're connecting to the right service. But it'll attach to the first one, and then it will use the test runner service app that has just been downloaded from GitHub to actually run the test so that it's running in a web service session which can be attached to. So let's try that now. If I set a breakpoint here and say I'm going to debug the test, and let's see what happens. Nothing happens. I'll put the breakpoint in the right place for one. And it took a little bit of time, but that has now, it took a while to actually attach the debugger. But now that it's done that, so you get the little debug panel here, you can see it's broken on the line that I added the breakpoint to. And from here, we can F11, step into the code, see what's happening. And this is in the sales header file itself. You can see the test field that has caused the error, and you can back it out from there. It'll actually jump then into the test runner code itself, and you can actually see what's gone wrong. You will get the error message and the call stack again in the terminal, and then you can make your changes, fix it, and go again, and attach the debugger, run the test, and break on the breakpoint. So there you go. That's nice, isn't it? Debugging tests. There's a few limitations because the tests are running in the web service context. You can't do stuff with page testability. You can't do stuff with UI. You might have some trouble trying to handle messages or confirmation dialogues. There might be various other things that are not possible to run in a web service context, and therefore you won't be able to debug. But this should have you covered for the majority of scenarios anyway. Feel free to give feedback or even create pull requests on the test runner itself or the VS Code extension, and let's make it better.